Music is an incredibly powerful tap into the emotions. As an experiment, try watching the most emotional scene from any movie you can think of with the sound turned off. Without music, the emotional impact of the scene will be hugely reduced. So, when it comes to conveying raw emotion, such as soaring joy or devastating heartbreak, there are various tools composers can use in a movie soundtrack to heighten these emotions in the viewer. The same sort of thing can be put to good use in your songwriting. If you're starting out to write a sad song, the lyrical content is only the half of it. You're also going to want to use a musical backdrop that reinforces the despair of an intense breakup, a forlorn memory of a long-lost love, or losing your keys down the back of the sofa. So this month, I've made it a point to seek out one or two of the saddest chords known to mankind that will make anyone want to shed an empathetic tear. You'd think that for a sad chord progression, the majority of the chords would be minor chords, right? Well, not necessarily. With the right combination of chord shapes, major chords can play a surprisingly large part in creating some seriously sad stuff. Let's illustrate this by starting with undeniably the happiest chord of all, C major. C, E, and G. We can have C major as our first chord, and then add in one or two of the minor diatonic chords from the key of C major. Here's the full set of diatonic triads, laid out in order, built by stacking up alternate notes from the C major scale. It's interesting to note that out of the 7 chords in the diatonic set, 3 of them are minor chords. So let's tag one of these diatonic minor chords onto our major tonic chord to try and create a sad vibe. Let's try C major to A minor. This is a conventional diatonic move that occurs in millions of songs. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it's not particularly sad. We can get a lot more heart-wrenching than this. Things often sound sadder if the listener is expecting happy. So, try starting your progression with a major chord and then, wham, hit them with a non-diatonic minor chord, one that's not in the key, that they won't have been expecting. For an idea of what this might sound like, try a major tonic chord, C major for example, to the minor 4 chord, F minor. Shifting between major and minor works in reverse too. Take the first 2 chords of Samuel Barber's Adagio for Strings, one of the most plaintive and haunting pieces of music ever written. So what's going on here? We start on an E flat minor 7 chord with a high B flat melody note, which suspends over a shift to an underlying F major chord. Before dropping a semitone to A. The major third of the F chord. There are 2 particular types of non-diatonic chord that make great tearjerkers. The first of which is the half diminished or minor 7 flat 5 chord. This is made by taking a regular minor 7th chord I'm using a D minor 7 shape here, D, F, A, and C, and flattening the fifth by a semitone, making D, F, A flat, C. D minor 7 flat 5. The minor 7 flat 5 chord has a particular type of yearning, heart-wrenching quality. A quick way to shape one is to play the root note of a minor triad, find its minor third, and then build a minor triad off whatever note that third is. So, to get a D minor 7 flat 5, for example, play the root note of D, find the third of D minor, which is F, and play an F minor triad over that D root. Result, D minor 7 flat 5. So the minor 7 flat 5 chord is a great heartbreaker chord to add to a progression if that's the emotion you're trying to convey. Let's try it in a major key, rooted off the minor 2 chord. In the case of the key of C major, that would make it our D minor 7 flat 5 chord. Moving from C major to D minor 7 flat 5 is a very similar move to our C major to F minor change from a previous example, but this time with a D in the bass under the F minor chord. Now let's focus on our second non-diatonic chord shape, the sharp 4 diminished chord. This is an easy one to put together, despite the name. Just find the 4th degree of the major scale of the key we're in, and frame the diatonic 4 major chord that uses it as its root. So, in the key of C major, the 4 chord would be an F major chord. F, A, C. To make our sharp 4 diminished chord, all we have to do is raise up the root note by a semitone, keeping the rest of the chord shape, the A and C notes, intact. This gives us F sharp diminished, F sharp, A, and C. When paired with our tonic C major chord, this brings a really wistful, longing character to our progression, which now takes the form C major, F sharp diminished, D minor 7 flat 5, C major. Next up, here's a minor key diatonic progression that in Roman numeral form is spelled 1, 6, 3, 7. In the key of D minor, that translates to D minor 9, B flat major, F major, and C major. Even though 3 out of these 4 chords are major chords, it still has a faintly tragic, yet still contemporary vibe. Slipping in a dominant A7 over C sharp passing chord back to the D minor helps make things even more miserable. Our final progression this month is also in the key of D minor, and features a chromatic descending bass line that never fails to conjure up a feeling of melancholy. We've got D minor, D flat augmented, F major over C, B minor 7 flat 5, G minor over B flat, D minor over A flat diminished 7, and A dominant 7. The chords are enhanced by a wistful superimposed bell melody shown in red. Anyone got a tissue? Quite often, it's not necessarily the chords themselves that are sad, it's more the movement between two particular types of chord that evokes a feeling of sadness. By using slightly more exotic non-diatonic chords, we're able to convey slightly different shades of emotion. Rather than just being straight up happy or sad, we can use these to convey more subtle shades of sadness, like nostalgia or disappointment, for instance. Try playing around with different combinations of major and minor 7 flat 5, and sharp 4 diminished chords to see what emotions you can magic up.